But when he pulled out after a week of grading, he pulled out of his gi top, he pulled this belt out, and all the rest of the family, their jaws just dropped. And I didn't really didn't twig what it was because I wasn't watching. I was just in shock. We were down in a kneeling position in Caesar, and he put the belt around me and so forth. But then later on, we went to lunch. I was sitting there with his sister, Lily Rodriguez, who's gone there now, and Lily just turned around and she grabbed the belt and she's wriggling. She looked really angry at me, and I was going, what's wrong? She says, you know what this means? You know what this means? I was like, I don't know, I think so. No, maybe I don't know. But you don't look happy. And she said, yeah, here you are, you've got a Urquidez, you're part of a Urquidez family now. You've got this black belt. This means that if anything happens to him, we bow to you. You're it.
Welcome everybody to the latest edition of Ungoogleable. I'm your host Johnny Stofko, and today I sit down with martial arts living legend Glenn Coxon. I meet up with him at his home in Sydney, Australia to discuss some incredible stories in the space of the evolution of martial arts in Australia. We talk about how he became a multiple-time world record holder, how he was issued the first ever Australian black belt under the prized lineage of Benny the Jet Urquidez. He also talks about a promotional company that he once ran called Somebody Promotions in the late 80s and early 90s that was responsible with hosting some of Australia's largest live sporting events. He also shares some tips and tricks with us on how we could defend ourselves in some tricky situations. Like, what led you to LA? Okay. What led you to walking into the Jet Center?
It's quite funny actually, because always been one to want to get out there and discover as much as I could in the world of the martial arts out in the world. And growing up in far north Queensland, reading, my parents had news agencies, reading martial arts magazines, reading about Chuck Norris and Bill Superfoot Wallace and all these guys and that. But wow, it'd be awesome to get to meet them one day. One day, living in my log cabin, which I built with a spanner, a hammer and a chainsaw up the north coast, and I was sitting there one day and I was reading one of the magazines that someone was looking at bringing Benny the Jet to Australia. I didn't know who. So I started ringing everyone around and ringing up everyone I could find in the magazine. Do you know who's bringing Benny Urquidez out? Do you know? No one seemed to know anything. And as it turns out, it was just a rumor. I remembered seeing one of the black belt magazines that was advertisements for all of Benny's videos on how to and so forth. And at the bottom is contact his manager and the contact details. So I thought, I've called everyone in Australia, I may as well call LA. So I made a few inquiries and said, so what's involved? And before you know it, I'm setting up a company, and henceforth I set up a company called Somebody, because I figured somebody was bringing him out. And I always wanted to be somebody, so I could officially call myself Somebody. So that's henceforth I started a company called Somebody Promotions. And that led to me bringing Benny out for the first tour in Australia in 1988, and then again in 89 and so forth. But after that first tour, we got on like a house on fire. And he invited me to come out to LA and train with him and be one of his students. That over the years developed more and more and more. Many years later, I became his first ever Australian black belt.
When we think about martial arts lineages, whether it's Taekwondo, Karate, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a few names atop all of those aforementioned lists. When it comes to karate, kickboxing, stand-up striking sports, Benny the Jet Urquidez is the hierarchy, the top of the mountain. In this segment, Glenn tells us the story how he became the first ever Australian black belt under the Urquidez lineage. Did you have that black belt?
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, it was a bit of a shock. I didn't realize what happened at the time. But when he pulled out after a week of grading, he pulled out of his gi top, he pulled this belt out, and all the rest of the family, their jaws just dropped. And I didn't really twig what it was because I wasn't watching. I was just in shock. We were down in a kneeling position in Caesar, and he put the belt around me and so forth. But then later on, we went to lunch, and I was sitting there with his sister, Lily Rodriguez, who's gone there now, and Lily just turned around and she grabbed the belt and she was wriggling. She looked really angry at me, and I was going, what's wrong? She says, you know what this means? You know what this means? I was like, I don't know, I think so. No, maybe I don't know. but you don't look happy. And she said, well, yeah, here you are, you've got a Urquidez, you're part of a Urquidez family now. You know, you've got this black belt. You know, this means that if anything happens to him, we bow to you. You're it. I was like, oh, it just really dawned on me. And I said, well, you look so angry about this. And you said, you're my sister now. And she said, yes. She said, I said, well, why are you so angry? She said, well, you're not a Urquidez. You're not even an American. I said, well, I'll try. So anyway.
This took place at the Jet Center? The ceremony?
No, it was after the Jet Center. I'd been training for years at the Jet Center, going back and forth. I had actually 6 years of my life where I had the endless summer. So every time it was winter here, I was off to LA. I was training over there. And then the big earthquake happened in LA, and the Jet Center got trashed, the cracks in the wall and everything. I couldn't get it fixed, the floor buckled and everything. It was just going to be a multi-million dollar makeover. So I moved location. So this was actually at the next location, called the Jets Gym.
The Jets Gym.
Yeah.
What year? So that happened in '88?
That was, I think it was 99.
So that happened in '99?
Yeah, 99.
How long had you been training martial arts?
Oh, I've been training in martial arts. I actually started at the age of 7, right, in boxing. So I still count it as martial arts because it's a fighting art.
It definitely is.
And so I started in boxing, and then I gravitated towards the Oriental martial arts.
Traditional.
And I did some Shotokan karate. And back in those days, we're talking like really early 70s, 70, 71 and stuff like that. You couldn't find a black belt where we were. Could only find brown belts, and they would come and go, it would seem. Yeah? So we'd train in one style for a little while and then swap to another. And one day our school had effectively closed down. We were training at the police youth club with just the guys who'd been training with lately. And one of them said, oh, there's a guy down the road set up out at the university. It's Korean karate. And that was Taekwondo. So back even, 1971, I'm talking around, you didn't even know what Taekwondo was.
They call it Korean karate.
They called it Korean karate. I've got the book there by General Choi Hong-hee, who's the father of Taekwondo. And it's called Korean karate, Taekwondo. And so, I started there and evolved over the years. But that's where I grew up in North Queensland. Moved to the south, moved to the Gold Coast, then to Sydney, and then back north again to around the Port Macquarie region, halfway between Sydney and Brisbane, and I began teaching there and Taekwondo, and then brought into the mixed martial arts. I started to bring in boxing and a bit of kickboxing and that, and that's what got me interested in the magazine where I saw Benny Urquidez. Thought this guy's the all-time legend for all things kickboxing. And so that I reached out.
Stand-up striking.
Yeah, and that just started that whole journey of getting to know him and his style. A lot of people don't realise with Benny Urquidez's style is they know him. He's famous as the kickboxer, right? As the all-time greatest kickboxer. I'd say pretty much so.
This is what's spoken about, the movie Kickboxer.
Yeah.
That Van Damme played Dukes, but everyone in the know. It was about Benny the Jet.
That was Benny.
It was his story.
Benny had this fight to the death in Hong Kong, right? So
he actually fought in that.
Yeah. He fought this fight to the death thing. He was challenged on TV, and really sort of didn't realise what he was getting into. And I know that I think he's done some podcasts on this now since then, and really shares the story quite eloquently, and about what happened, how he got pulled into it, and he had no real idea of what this. When a fight to the death, it's like, yeah. And it was like, no, it's a fight to the death,
Yeah.
And Benny's getting the better of this guy, and then they're expecting him to, knock him off. And he didn't want to do that, of course, So
how did that story end?
I think with
we know Benny lived.
Him grabbing everything he could and getting the hell out of it, getting on a plane, getting out of it before, there's probably a lot of bad elements involved.
Yeah.
With it behind the scene, obviously, because anyone's running some sort of a death match. It's certainly not what you'd call kosher.
The style, pardon me for not knowing, but the black belt that you just showed us, What is that style?
Yeah, so this is the interesting thing is that, Benny's, famous as, the epitomized kickboxer. But there's, within his system, which is called Urquidez, the Urquidez system is a family system from the Urquidez family. It's a blend of 9 different forms of martial arts and includes boxing and kickboxing. So within that, there is actually 3 different disciplines. There's Urquidez boxing, Urquidez kickboxing, and Urquidez karate. And Urquidez karate is a blend of those 9 different forms of martial arts, but it also incorporates boxing and kickboxing materials in that as well. So there's 3 separate curricula, and yet within the karate style, it includes also the boxing and kickboxing. So the footwork, the handwork, and so forth, the bobbing, dodging, all this sort of type stuff, and that parrying, weaving, all the boxing and kickboxing.
Any clinch work?
Yeah, clinches and some really good sneaky clinches and so forth.
Grabbing arm?
Love to show you some.
I'd love to
see
some.
Some sneaky stuff one day, so you can
Yeah,
control
if somebody
people.
over punches.
Yeah, very
grab.
much about control. But the real big thing that really I loved after having done quite a number of different martial arts, and I had Dan grades and Taekwondo and stuff like that. So I had a reasonable good amount of experience, but well before I met Sensei Benny. I'd already been training for nearly 20 years. The one thing that really got me is it's really leverage orientated. A lot of people don't understand that, leverage orientated. And to me, one of the simplest ways to explain leverage, when I start with, say, a student or whatever, I say, right, you stand there in a stance, and I try and push on you at your hips. And that, because of the lower center of gravity in that, right, you're going to sort of hold your ground, you're harder to move. But if I turn around and I put my hand up on your forehead and I push, you're really easy to topple you, make you step back and lose balance. That's one of the basic concepts of leverage, right? And leverage is used in things like finger locks and wrist locks and stuff like that. So the way I used to describe
press pause,
his style.
and then you show me.
Yeah, sure.
The leverage bit.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna. This just don't hurt me. So leverage.
So leverage is really simple. So you're in a stance here like that. Hold yourself solid. So you don't want me to push you. You don't want me to move you, right? Okay. I have to really make an effort to get you to move, right? Mm-hmm. If I come up to here though, that's
easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I come up to here, right?
Way easier.
Way easy. That's the simple basics of leverage.
Okay.
Right. So then when you put that into play with, say, when you've thrown a jab, and I go here, I enter here like that to check. All you have to check this. Okay, come in here, down here, and it's So when I come in here, I'm doing slow mo here, and I want to now not just clinch here.
Is that legal? That lock?
I want to come in here and go like that.
Oh, yeah.
You see, and now you're in checkmate.
Yeah.
You can't throw your left.
Is this legal? This lock?
Maybe temporarily.
Okay, yeah. So
momentarily. So you're here like this. But the thing is, the leverage is now, look, so you're getting on your toes.
As
this starts to get tweaked like that. Yeah, a lot of things can go from here. So I could kick in here and so forth. I can, from here, with like that, I can now, you're getting tweaked. You see, you can't get out of it.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
go
I can
easy,
just
big fella, go easy.
No, going slow mo, right, for safety.
Yeah.
So I just take a step back with my left foot, and then I weight this place, and that pulls you around.
Holy shit! So that's but that shoulder manipulation.
Yeah. So
that's where I was screwed.
It's just in, and then boom.
Okay, let's do everything except that last bit. Let's go real slow.
Yeah.
So you're looking for me to make an error though. So to set that move up, you're waiting for it, right?
We could be sparring, and you could be throwing stuff and so forth, and we're doing all this type of stuff. And then off one of those, I come in, and I'm looking to get this in check.
In there. Okay.
I want to first of all stop that arm coming forward. So I want to
neutralize it.
I want to stop that there. Then I want to slip past it.
Fucking hell, mate.
Come into here, bring my head in here, throw on your shoulder style. and then
lock
bring that up. And then I want to lock it into here.
Okay. Is a cheeky headbutt legal from your end? Could you?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course, but that's why I also will come in here, so you can't do much.
Are you allowed to add pressure there?
You can't do much to it.
No, I'm
yeah,
stuck.
yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
If I push away with this arm.
Yep, and that separates that. Yeah, well,
that's
let's not do that.
Yeah, no. So I'm going easy on that there.
Yep.
So from here, you can slow mo.
Yep.
Step back, and as you come round, you come into. So you can go around like that, and then calf spring straight off, boom, straight back into here. So you've actually come round in like that with your ribs exposed.
Yeah.
Into a bouncing knee. That's
I'm catching neither, and I'm landing on my head.
Yeah. And I remain in control to whenever I want to let go.
Yep.
I could pull round and then bang.
Boom.
And throw a shot, you know?
So what discipline is this?
That's
not kickboxing.
It is. It's Benny Urquidez style kickboxing.
But you want like a John Wayne Parr kick Muay Thai match? That he wouldn't be doing that sort of stuff. Or like Ramon Decker's. Like that stuff's illegal, right? Are you allowed to grab and spin like that?
If you can get away with it.
If you get away with it. Because they said that's what Tyson would do in the prime, when he was prime Tyson.
Yeah.
He would grab the arm, like how you just said, and then counter punch from there.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked at how neutralized I was. Just your one arm, I wasn't able to do anything.
Because it's one thing to have your arm like that and it's caught.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start to...
Have you ever been countered from there?
When you look at it...
Have you ever been countered from there?
What is this?
Yeah.
It's a figure four.
Yeah.
Figure four lock.
Yeah.
So you do.
Yeah.
You know,
the elbow.
Yeah.
The shoulder. The hips. Everything. I have nothing.
Yeah.
I'm useless.
You're sort of like this.
I'm useless.
Yeah. And now I have leverage control of you.
Is there a counter? Have you ever been countered with that or no? There's no.
Yeah. So if you've got the same thing on me, if you've gone through here like this type thing, and I'm there like that, what I need to do is I need to get back from over here back up to here, right, without doing this, right? So from here, I've got to come round to here.
Yep.
You see?
Oh, that step.
See, I got to step around into it and lean into it.
I have to come here.
And bring that down.
Okay.
You see?
Yep.
And then I start to, now, if I'm not careful, we start
I see what's happening there.
And you want to get your arm out, going slow.
But then I
you
can
want
get
to go out, before you know it, now you're in.
Yeah.
We're going to go like that. And I go like that, and suddenly pop.
Yeah, we don't want the pop. We don't want the pop. Let's reset. That was awesome. So the understatement of the year would be that how blown away I am on the relevance and importance of leverage, knowing how to counter leverage, but more importantly, offensively, knowing how to use it as a weapon. This is something that, I mean, I was useless. I was like, as soon as you neutralized my right shoulder, I mean, you had me at, and that could have happened in the first 8 seconds of the first exchange of the fight. So that's very, and you said, would we see that in a traditional kickboxing match?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. But one, you'll get broken up, but then people clinch. And it doesn't look much different to a clinch.
Okay.
So I've gone to clinch. I'm talking about arm clinch, not neck, right? So you've gone an arm clinch, and then you just lock it out.
Okay.
Now it's checkmate.
Okay.
So this is like check, and that's checkmate.
Okay. And then on that, I felt vulnerable in multiple areas. On that topic of the kickboxing, it's definitely a point we wanted to talk about with you, was these legendary kickboxing events that took place in Australia, in Sydney, in the early 90s.
Yeah, late 80s and early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s, that you could go on reddit.com and type in Australian kickboxing event, and there's a whole thread about these certain events. You can't find them on YouTube, but there's 2 original tapes right here, and we're holding them. Which one do you want first? You want the Superfoot?
Yeah, no, one? The other one. The other
this one?
Yeah.
And talk about that one. Maybe put it at the camera.
So this was in talking with Benny Urquidez. I was working with 2 great partners of mine, Jim Sheedy and my best man, Trevor Munnery. And Trevor was a PR guy introduced to me by my brother. So Jim had helped me out a lot when I first started bringing Benny out here to Australia and doing workshop tours, seminar tours around the country from 1988. And so then we went from there to like, let's do a martial arts show. First of all, it was a demo fight at a tournament up the coast. Then the next year is like, let's do an actual what we call a show. And our aim was to share a lot of the martial arts. So there's a lot of martial arts. You probably can't make it out, but there's martial arts stuff on the back here, snapshots of of different demos. We have martial arts there and get martial arts instructors and master instructors to actually turn around and bring all of our people along to support the show. But what we wanted to do was also promote kickboxing. And when I was talking about doing kickboxing, I'm talking about like world title fights and so forth, and one of the great fighters, legendary great fighter, Pete Sugarfoot Cunningham, and had the most amazing fight record. No losses, but he had one draw. And I was sitting there talking with Sensei Benny one day back in the Jet Center, it was back in those days. We were talking about that, and I said, so yeah, I'd love to have Pete on our fight show. And so tell me about his fight record and so forth. Who would be a good opponent? And I said, talking about his fight record, and I said, there's this many fights, that many wins, one draw. Who did he draw? Straight away I thought, okay, it was a draw. Oh, this guy named Sakad Bachendi, a Thai guy. And apparently I think Sakad had fought him in the US and wasn't happy with the result, thought he'd been robbed. And so there was, some bad blood there, so to speak. And I thought, wow, that sounds like it'd be a great rematch. Would be up for a rematch? He said, Benny said, yeah, Petey will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that's what I love about the guy. He's just fantastic. So we put together this promotion. That was our first fight show. And that was under kick rules, the kick sanctioning body, which was 11 rounds. The idea being that if there's no draws, then someone's going to win at least 5 and someone's going to win 6. So you're going to have a winner. And this went the full distance, as it turned out. It was an absolute war. It was fantastic. Petey, I thought, was so much better than him. And Sensei Peter was just all over him. Sensei Peter is one of the black belts in Urquidez style and so forth as well. And boxing, kickboxing, and just a legendary fighter. And it was just a fantastic fight. And he really got the better of Bachendi by a long way, I thought.
And now this was never released. You said you sold a couple hundred of them.
Yeah, we sold a couple of hundred videos. We sold it through one of our trading companies. Later on, we sold the next fight show. I can tell you about the next fight show. So this is the next one we want to talk about. That has Maurice Smith on it. Yeah, this one we managed to actually do a deal with Columbia TriStar. And nice. There's some amazing stories in behind all this stuff. We had originally tried to do a deal with the manager of a guy named Dennis Alexio. And Dennis Alexio was a world heavyweight champion in 2 of the sanctioning bodies. And we were trying to get the fight between Dennis Alexio and Stan Longanides. Stan Longanides was fighting out of Benny's camp, out of the Jet Center. And we were trying to get that fight together. And we had negotiated this and flew all the way to LA to sign the papers for the deal and everything. And at last minute, his manager wanted to turn around and change the deal. Am I okay to go about this sort of type thing? I feel like I'm a little bit speaking ill of the dead here. His manager was Bob Wool. Yeah. Bob Wool was the guy with the scar down his face. I played the part called O'Hara in End of a Dragon. Yeah. So here we are. We just got off our plane to LA, going to Bob's place, gone and had lunch. Everything's all warm and fuzzy and really nice. And then Bob says, so we're ready to sign the contract. We'd already discussed the contract, agreed to it and everything before we went. Sent him $5,000 deposit. And then we get there and he says, just one little thing I just want to change, just a little thing we'll change on it. Make alteration on our contract initial, it'll be good. We want to change it so that Dennis either doesn't put up the world title fight, so it's just a sanctioned fight. It's just a sanctioned fight, but it's not the world title. Or he'll put up the world title, but Dennis has been fighting 3-minute rounds and he prefers to fight 3-minute rounds. The sanctioning body says, no, they're 2-minute rounds. Boxing is 3-minute rounds. Kickboxing is 2-minute rounds. So I said, well, either way you're trying to, twist it here. So effectively, if Dennis loses, he still keeps his titles. And we were that confident that Stan was going to beat him. So we had a really big stink about this. I even actually pushed to where we were forced to vote by the kick sanctioning body and all of our voting representatives there on the board as to whether or not we were pushing for Dennis to be stripped of his title. Based on that he wouldn't put the title up legitimately.
Wow.
Right? In the end, we ended up not having the title fight with him, and Bob Wall didn't give us the $5,000 back. So, in my opinion, ripped us off and took it under false pretenses. When that fell through, we just started advertising. And so this just threw everything in chaos. So we had to quickly change all the poster advertising, marketing, that and everything. We reached out to see who else would be appropriate, and we found out about Maurice Smith. We started talking with his manager, who's his dad, yeah? And started talking with him, and Kirk Jensen is his name, from Washington, and spoke with Maurice, and it was fantastic, and they're great. It came to a great deal and everything, and can't speak highly enough about this man, how he is to work with. So not only did we have this fight, we had another fight later on as well, the following year. And this is, many people say we regard this as one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. So what we're going to do is we're going to see about getting this digitized. This is one of the last copies out there. I'm going to get it digitized. We're going to put it up on YouTube, and so people will be able to see it. It's 12 rounds. It's a complete, utter, total war. And without giving too much away, you'll see that Maurice gets dropped in the first round. And that's when you know you're in for a great fight. And it is a really, really, truly great fight.
And Stan's a Melbourne kid, right?
Stan's a Melbourne guy. Fantastic, great guy. Up to that point, Stan had an impeccable record. No draws, no losses. I think it was 20-0-0. And then so he obviously wasn't too happy. He had his first loss. It went the full distance, 12 rounds, and it was a decision against Stan for the world champ, because Maurice was the world heavyweight champ at the time, you know?
Yeah.
And great fight.
The start that Stan Longanides would have wanted for this fight, right? He needed to bounce out quick.
That was a graze. That seemed a flash knockdown. That caught him right above the head.
Round one. You know, runs in for a good fight.
Yeah. This is amazing.
I'm not sure that Smith was caught off balance or what, but it certainly hit him with the canvas.
Look, he's throwing bombs. The rules were what now?
This is a WK title.
And the rule sets were 12 2 minutes?
Yep.
Oh, that left jab by Smith, it landed right on the door of Longanides. The punch to watch for Longanides is the left punch. It's an awesome left punch, and if Maurice Smith sticks his chin out and stands an hour during an early shower. Left.
Alright, okay, so to me, from a self-defense perspective, as we're talking really my language.
This is your wheelhouse.
Right? So from a self-defense perspective, one of the first things you need to be aware of, boxers want to stand here and go pop, 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 all this sort of type thing, and then get in here and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay? So the street fighter wants to lob and so forth. So many times I've seen two guys throwing
Haymakers.
Haymakers at each other so much got kicked out of a nightclub. They're outside and it's pouring rain, and they're on the tiles.
Yeah.
They're both throwing a haymaker at each other so hard, they both missed, and both went ass up and landed on the butts. And 100 people outside the nightclub laughing at them, both ran away. It felt so stupid.
Idiot. Yeah.
So one of
No
the
looping.
things, no looping type thing. And what you want to do is one of the things in the street is you're worried about when's this going to come out, when's that going to come out, type thing, right? So don't wait for it necessarily to come out and try and take care of it with a parry or a lob or whatever, anything like that. Be proactive, but be proactive on the way in as well. So from here, shoot something in, and as you shoot something in, take care of that one.
Okay.
Okay?
So you're going jab, orthodox, jab, and you're going to pat down?
Yeah. So it depends on where that hand is. I just want it not to go anywhere.
Okay, so do that. Let's go 2 for slow motion.
So I go here.
Okay, so you're watching it.
If you're going there, I'll go there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I want to come on top of it here.
Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
So start over. I'm not questioning it. Pretend you don't know I'm going to do it. I'm not going to go fast. Does it translate if I go and you slap that down? Like, have you done that?
Yeah. Same thing. Right? And I'm not interested in about how much damage I do at that first shot.
Yeah, you just want to.
I just want to get my foot in the door.
So your foot.
Yeah, no, I want to get
Yeah, I get that.
my foot in the door.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, I got a foot in the door.
Okay.
That thing, you know?
Go
So
ahead.
I want to effectively trap that down.
Yep. That's gonna land so.
Right? And then into that. And now from here,
Yep.
I'm going to come in. I'm going to keep firing.
Okay, so
Right?
non-stop.
But look.
Now you look like John Wayne Farr.
Now look what I'm doing though.
Damn it.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm coming in with whatever is the right ranging, whether it's elbow, if we're punching and so forth and all that. But every time, this is a mixture of boxing and kung fu. Now, kung fu and some of the kung fu styles, they've got a trap, so they come in and they double trap, just like that, and then come in for the shot. Right? So it'll be like 1, 2, and then 3, and then 5. So I'll go, just go slow mo, right? You know you're gonna lose it, right? So I'll go 1, 2, fire, or 1, 2, 3, fire. Okay, so it was 1, 2, 3, fire. The trick is to not cross your own arms, you know? You trap yourself type thing.
Okay.
The idea is that as your arm comes out, you lose leverage.
Me?
Okay, you use leverage.
Yeah.
So the further your arm is out, the easier it is to just take it anywhere, right? Okay? Really easy. And if you're trying to punch me in the face, we only need to move it 3 inches.
Yep.
A miss is a miss.
Yep.
So from here, I always want to go trap, boom. And now, I'm in here.
Yep.
Now every time I do some sort of a hit on you, I will now swap to that one and then hit with that one.
So that's a
And
system.
then that one and that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're following a system
I'm keeping you back here.
Okay. Not allowing me to
I
reload.
prefer in all circumstances be on your blind. Really? Because this is out of play.
Okay. Then stay there. So you're not gonna give me your back.
Yeah. And you see that's what
How about if I then try to-
so nice just ended what we did before.
Follow me
It's
on.
putting that in check. So if I do come to be inside,
Let's do back on the camera.
if I do come to be inside,
Uh-huh.
now I want to check that one.
Okay, we've already done that one.
Okay?
So what happens then with this style if I force, because everything so far from your end has been sort of like countering. What are you gonna do if I force you to add the, like say I'm the one that's gonna sit back?
And I'm throwing.
Yeah, and you're throwing.
Yeah.
So what do you do from there then?
I go home.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's my bad. I don't want
You don't want to play, you don't want to play. Huh?
Okay, so this is all based on the pressure being thrown at you unwillingly, and then you neutralizing the pressure.
Yeah, so
Okay.
rules
Okay,
of,
okay.
5 rules of escalation. You avoid rather than encounter.
Okay.
Encounter rather than be encountered. So don't wait until someone grabs you here. Type thing, right? So encounter rather than be encountered.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
You strike rather than maim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maim rather than kill, and kill rather than get killed.
Okay. Yeah. Do one of these. Yeah. That was. You just blew me away again about what happens if I come here and you're like, oh, nothing. I'll walk away because I don't want to play.
Or just go home. You don't play.
That's excellent,
You
man.
don't have to go hunting them.